Hello, welcome to Power Pantaloons podcast. My name is Tanya, your host. I am your holistic cancer wellness specialist. And today we have with us Tara Hayes. Welcome, Tara.
Thank you, Tanya.
You want to tell the audience what you do?
Sure. So I am a twice self-published author, owner and CEO of Terrified Publishing. And my books are about my experience with anxiety. And I'll tell you a little bit of how I became an author. I was at a point in my life where I didn't know who I was. And I had just gotten laid off from two full-time accounting jobs within a 10-month period. So I figured I had to figure out who I was basically. And that's when I came across the self-publishing course. And that's when I had to decide what I wanted to write about. And that's when I decided to write about my experience with anxiety because it's something that most people can relate to. So from that point, I decided I wanted to become an anxiety coach, but I didn't feel quite aligned with anxiety coaching. So I knew that by being a self-published author, that I would have the ability to share the process with other women. So what I do is I help other women self-publish their story, share their story. And along with that, on the journey, I picked up journaling as well. So began making digital products out of my journey and sharing that with other female business owners who want to add like a supplemental piece to their business, like as a marketing strategy. And all of my products have a mental wellness, mental health focus, self-care, self-love, because that's what it means to be terrified. And that's how Terrified Publishing began.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Terrified. It can be. When let's start with the definition, right? Like, so anxiety, it there are levels to it.
Right,
you
exactly.
know it goes from really very mild and just a little bit irritating to full-blown panic attacks where you can't do anything and
Right.
everything in between. And sometimes people don't seem to realize that when you say that you have anxiety, you could be way closer to the panic attack thing as opposed to the uh, just a little mildly inconvenienced by your emotions. And
Right.
there's
Right.
a sliding scale.
Right, exactly. And I've experienced both. I've experienced a time where my anxiety was mild, but most of my life I've had severe anxiety. Like even like I went to therapy and even my therapist told me I had severe anxiety. And it was to the point where I couldn't function, like to a point where I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. I had went through a period where I had really, really bad insomnia. I wasn't sleeping at all. Had to take a sleeping pill every once in a while, but I was against that, so I was just up all night basically. So, and I would say that anxiety, a lot of mine stemmed from low self-esteem and not being confident in who I was, not having a self-love, self-care routine. And I know that there's clinical anxiety, but mine is more like a high functioning anxiety. And it did stop me. It stopped me from achieving a lot of things in my life, especially when it came to like socializing, because I have a form of social anxiety. Even health anxiety too, like you start worrying about, like when you're worrying so much, your body gets flooded with cortisol, and then you're always in fight or flight, and then it starts affecting, you start thinking that you're ill. So I've had a whole, like everything really on the spectrum of anxiety, but so now I'm to a point where it's still there, but it's to a point where it's manageable. It's not taking over my life. I don't live in constant fear like I used to. So
So where did you start to manage your anxiety? Like, what were your first steps? Do you remember?
my first steps to begin managing my anxiety was actually therapy. I started therapy when I was like 15. Like I didn't really want to go to therapy. Like my parents said, like my dad was a pharmacist, and then they told me, oh, you have to go to therapy. You have to do something for this. So therapy was definitely the first step. And I was resistant in therapy like for years. And I was on medication as well. And I was resistant because I didn't understand the point in therapy really. I know they were there to help me, but I wasn't able to open up and really communicate how I was feeling in a way where they'd be able to help me. So when my I finally did get the help that I needed, I was in therapy, and then what made a difference for me is actually applying it to my life. Like it's like as soon as I'll tell you, the reason why I got off a prescription medication was because I went to get a colonoscopy because I had my anxiety was so bad that I think I was developing IBS, like irritable bowel syndrome. So at that point, I went to get a colonoscopy done, and then they told me that I had microscopic colitis. So I said, "What in the world is that, and how could I have gotten it?" So I looked up my medication, and it said a long-term effect of what I was using could, microscopic colitis could have developed from that. And I brought it to my psychiatrist, and then they said, "Well, did you contact the maker of the drug?" And I said, "No, I didn't." So then I just decided I was like, "All right." If this is affecting me this way, I think I need to find a better, more natural way to deal with this anxiety that I'm having. And then like with the combination of therapy and then finally deciding, making up in my own mind that I want to be better and developing a personalized routine, that's when things shifted for me basically.
Yes. Like I mindset first. I
Right,
you have to, yes, start with the mindset, with the decision on what you want to do and where you want to go with it. And
right,
once you, because the mindset is the blueprint on how everything is going to go.
exactly. Exactly.
So you start there. Um, can you share with the audience some of the natural techniques that you used?
Right, exactly. So, I did start with breathing. Like my therapist would recommend deep breathing. I was like, oh, that doesn't work. But then finally, I was like, so I'm going to start deep breathing. I'm going to take in what she's saying. And then, like, even didn't matter where I was. I could be in front of my computer. I could be behind my car driving. I would just start deep breathing and start relaxing. And then also changing my thought pattern. Like, whenever I had like a thought, that said like I was getting ready to get into a panic. I was like, no, you're not. Or I would change it to a point as like welcoming more of the panic in, basically. I know that scares a lot of people, but I kind of have like a touch of agoraphobia. Like sometimes when I'm on a highway, I start panicking. So it's like, oh, I love being on this highway. Oh, this is a great place. I just kind of make myself into a safe place, and that has helped me like working on the mindset. And also doing daily meditation as far as like a 10-minute like letting go of negative thoughts meditation, mindfulness meditation. Like I started looking into mindfulness books as well. Like I haven't even heard like of mindfulness until I started doing like my own research, like my own natural research. So mindfulness was also something that I use as well. And what I use also is daily exercise, right? So I know like everybody doesn't like to exercise, but I hated it myself too. But it's like it's became like routine. So like I really like to use like that's one of my favorite ones, daily exercise.
So exercise in my mind is a punishment. So what I did, I don't exercise. What I do is recreation, because recreation is a fun thing. And it's simple things like this, just changing how you view a thing
Right.
that helps you manage, cope, or resolve whatever's going on. And it every as far as I'm concerned, everything comes back to mindset. And while you're going through cancer or other whatevers, like whatever situation that you're in, anxiety is a common denominator for a lot of things. And building breathing techniques, meditation, reframing, doing these things now before you get ill will help you in the long run.
Right, exactly right. And I like really commend you like for getting through your cancer because that's like one of my biggest fears is like, all right, if I were to get, say I were to get ill, like would I keep all these practices in my mind that I have for anxiety? But like you said, like to practice it before you get to that point, then it makes a difference. So I agree with that.
Well, also eating, like
Yeah.
get your food right too, because
Right,
there's so much that food is medicine. It is.
right,
And if you are providing your body with what it actually requires, water, hydrate, like, so what is it? 70% of Americans are habitually dehydrated.
right.
absolutely ridiculous, right?
Right.
Water yourself, feed yourself the things that you need to be feeding yourself. Put the
Right.
bread down, put the pasta down.
Yeah, and I know it's difficult to do too. Like, and I did forget to mention that too. Like, that was one of the natural strategies, like food. Like, I was doing like green smoothies, whenever I would feel like something that didn't feel like right in my body, that's when I was like, oh, I need to start my smoothies again. And then I was also using something called ashwagandha. I don't know if you've heard of that.
It's an
Yeah.
adaptogen.
Yep. I was using that. I go through periods sometimes where I try it and then I forget about it. And then when I start feeling better, then I was like, you know what, let me pick it up again. So.
I just bought a pound of it, and a pound of chaga mushrooms and some reishi. I'm making my version of a mud water type deal.
Okay.
Yeah, right. That's my next step because I I got rid of soda. Like soda is now out of my life. So then the next step is going to be difficult at coffee, where we're going to
Right.
step away from coffee. And in order to do that, we need to have a beverage that we like. So
Right.
I'm going to be creating you know, an adaptogenic mud water full of anti-cancerous mushroom powders and
Right.
obviously the chai tea mixture because we all love the chai tea with the cinnamon and the ginger and all that beautiful stuff.
Right. Now I normally do like a hibiscus tea. I don't even think I've ever tried chai. Have you done a hibiscus tea before ever?
So one of my favorites is hibiscus and rosebud.
Okay.
Well, since you brought it up, so about a year ago I started drinking kombucha and I would put ginger ale or Sprite in it. So it's one third ginger ale, one third cranberry juice, and one third of the kombucha. And about 3 months ago, we took the soda out and we started putting teas in, like, and the one that I've been making recently is the hibiscus rose.
Okay.
It's literally what I'm drinking right now.
That's funny. That's funny. But yeah, like yeah, I was gonna say like I eliminated soda. Well, I guess every once in a while, like I don't know, like every 4 months, maybe I'll have like a little, like it's not like a constant in my life. So
Yes, right. And the key to sustainable change is baby steps, little steps at a time, so that you get com get comfortable with it. Radical change is not really sustainable because you just
right,
you just won't do it.
right, exactly. Right,
But if you step into it small steps at a time,
right,
absolutely change everything. Yeah,
right. Totally agree.
getting your food right. Like about a year and a half ago, I got real serious about that, and I've
Mhm.
lost 65 pounds.
Oh wow.
So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
thank you. It happened slowly and
hmm
gradually and sustainably because each time I make a change in what the food is or the nutrition is, it's easier to sustain it. And now when I taste, like if I were to eat a ring ding now, it tastes
hmm
like plastic to me. Like it doesn't like 4 years ago I would have eaten a box of them, right? But like
Right,
now I can't because it's vile to me just because
right,
of how it tastes now. So
right.
it's baby
R-
steps.
Right, exactly. And then like I have like a little M&M, like peanut M&Ms craving. So I only eat two. Like I don't eat the whole bag. So it's like back then I would have ate the whole bag in one sitting. But now I can eat two and walk away. So
I don't know if I'm that strong, but honestly, it's the peanut butter cups that get me.
the Reese's, oh my God, I love them so much.
Pumpkins came out, and my husband bought a bag of them, and I'm like, oh no, because usually I can ignore it, but it's hard to ignore your favorite candy.
Yeah, those are my favorite. Definitely. I love Reese's.
I can ignore a lot because
Right.
because of the sustainable change that I've made. And making these changes before something happens is much easier than making them after, because you know I'm now over 50, and it takes a while for things to happen.
Right. Right. And it's like, I guess the older you get, like the more you get stuck in your ways, you get more stuck in your mindset. Like my father, he passed away from cancer in 2022, and I was working with him, I said, "Dad, why don't you drink these smoothies?" He was drinking them at one point, but then he stopped, and he wouldn't change everything. It was like a little bit he would change at a time, but it's because he was 72. So it was because he was already stuck. He already lived his life, the way he wanted to live it. So he's very stubborn. So that's why I said I wanted to change my mindset in my 30s, before, when I get in my 70s, if I make it, I would have a different mindset and not be stuck in my ways the way he was. So
You know, the only constant is change.
right,
And the more you avoid the change, the harder the lesson is.
right,
So
exactly.
learning to lean in, and I'm not saying that's easy because it really is not, but the more you lean in at the beginning of the change, the easier it is for you.
Right, exactly. I agree with that.
Now, I it's interesting because when you look at food habits, and you look at I, I have stepchildren, and you look at their food habits, and you're like, oh God. And having conversations with them, you know they know what they're doing isn't the most healthy, but at this time they're not choosing to do anything about it. I'd like to pull my
Right.
hair out over that, but also they have to live their lives their own way, and they have to come to
Right.
the conclusions by themselves.
Right. Right.
all,
Exactly.
all we can do is guide and offer the helping hand when they're ready for it.
Right, right. And I had to learn that too. Like with my dad, I had to learn that he was going to do what he wanted to do. I could talk to him as much as I wanted to, I could tell him this and that, but it was ultimately his decision. So, and it's hard, when you want someone to do what you want them to do, like when you don't have control. Like that's another thing. Like I like to be in control, but I can't control, there's things I can't control, so that's something that I had to work on too. Lots I can't control.
Okay, so we talked about breathing, we talked about meditation. What other tools do you use with the anxiety?
I do use journaling, like when I'm like really to a point where I can't get something off my mind, something's bothering me. Like I'll just pick up my phone and I'll type, or I'll pick out a notebook. Like I'm more of a digital journaler, honestly. So I would pick up my phone and I would type. Like I would type in my little notes, or I would type in an app that I have. So like I know some people prefer like just writing things out like in paper. Like I did a journaling challenge earlier this year, and then people were like, "Oh, I like prefer paper. I prefer, this, but I prefer like digital journaling." So, I would do journaling. What else do I do? I like to go for walks too. It really clears my mind. Like it's like when I can't focus, is like you need to go out for a walk. You need to clear your mind, and the nature, it just helps everything. It just makes everything feel better. So,
The Japanese do the forest baths, and I just think that concept is amazing. And I try to get out into the forest as often as possible to just wander around, because you can feel the energy. It's different in a forest.
hmm
And
yeah.
take your shoes off and walk barefoot.
I was just getting ready to say that. Like I did that earlier this year. I stood in the grass, I just sit in the grass in the front yard, and I was just trying to connect with the earth. And I was like, and it felt different. Like it was a different experience for me. So it felt like I was just becoming one with nature, really. So
Well, the grounding, 10
yeah,
to 17 minutes a day barefoot, the center of the sole of your foot touching the earth, helps you realign your magnet. I think it's you're discharging negative ions, maybe the other way around, but either way, you're rebalancing your magnetic field by doing that.
Okay. Well, I guess I'd have to wait until it's getting colder weather now. So I don't know if I want to go out in this weather in the barefoot. But I think I would try that again, because I didn't do it consistently. I did it like maybe once or twice. And then but I think I would like to experience it like a consistent way. So
It is getting a little chillier, but some of us like that.
I'm more of a summer girl.
I I am I'm a fall girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the cool air. It smells crisp. You can almost smell the pumpkins in the air. Like
Hmm.
I don't know. And we all like it's interesting that everybody has their specific season. So I understand why you don't want to go walking barefoot outside, but I might be doing that. So we'll see. We'll
Right.
see. All right,
Right.
so we have breathing, we have meditating, we have journaling, and we have grounding, walking outside and being in the air. Journaling is super cool. I I find that the older generation prefers to write with pen
Right.
and paper, and the younger generation prefers to do it digitally because that's what they're just used to. Uh,
Right.
there's something about writing on paper for me that just like when I actually do journal, I do prefer to write it out.
Right.
Although I think maybe I could do the stream of consciousness recordings. I think that would be kind of cool too.
Right. When you just write out and then you're not even thinking, right? You're just continuously writing whatever comes to mind. Yeah. Like I did that earlier this year too. Like I just mentioned about the journaling challenge. Like I showed the women I was journaling with how to do that. And it was like a great experience. I've never done it before that challenge. Like I never even heard of stream of conscious writing before that challenge. So to actually do that and experience with other people. So it was a good experience.
It's it helps you de-stress.
Right.
Like getting what's literally on your mind out and allowing it to be on paper. Just the act of releasing it helps relieve the stress and anxiety,
Right.
and that's super important, especially if you're going through chemotherapy. I
Right.
know for me personally, journaling is not something I do on a regular basis, even though I know it would benefit me. I just have a real hard time doing it on a regular basis. I
Right.
did I did absolutely journal while I was going through my cancer journey, and I do feel that it was a piece of my puzzle that helped me um handle the mental exhaustion and fatigue of being ill for over a year. And
Right. Right. And another thing that like I used to struggle with journaling consistently too. What helped me was pairing it with something that I did do consistently. Like I said that I work out every morning. So I would do my workout and then I would do my journaling and that helped me become consistent with it by pairing it with something I was doing consistently. So
okay, that's
yeah.
that's a that's a nice tip. It's
Yeah.
absolutely a nice tip. Fantastic.
Yeah. And then I forgot to mention affirmations too. I would do those too. Like especially when I was feeling like really, really bad, I would start saying, just affirming to myself that, I'm confident. Like when I'm not feeling confident, even if I'm not feeling, I would affirm it. Or even if I'm not feeling beautiful, I will still affirm that I'm beautiful. So, and that I'm a great person, so those affirmations help me as well. So,
Yes. And nipping the negative self-talk in the
right,
when you realize you're doing it, immediately stop and reframe. And
right.
what is it, like 70 million thoughts a day or something ridiculous like that we
It's a
have?
whole lot.
That number is not accurate. I just made it up, but it's a big number. And with that many thoughts, it's really hard, especially since society has trained us to think in a negative manner. So when
Right.
you catch yourself, every time you catch yourself, just reframe it, and eventually it will transform for you.
Right, right. And then the mind is naturally negative, so you have to like train it like to build like those new neural pathways, so you can be more positive, because like I was the most negative person you would meet before, So like I'm not saying that I'm positive all the time, I have negative moments, but just the training that I've been doing, I've been a lot more positive than I've been ever in my life. So
It makes a difference. It really, eh, it does. And one of the important things that we should talk about is you cannot control the situation. You can control how you interact with it, how you handle it.
right,
And
right,
I'm not saying that you could talk yourself out of a panic attack. I'm not saying that because I sometimes you just absolutely cannot.
right,
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take your medication if you're on medication. I'm not saying that at all either. I'm just saying that there are other ways that you can try to support it. But if you
right.
like, you know, your doctor obviously is going to work with you on that. But if you don't have a severe case, sometimes you can mitigate it.
Right, exactly. Like I shared with you, I was told like my father was a pharmacist. He said, "Hey Tara, maybe you need the medicine." And then my psychiatrist said, former psychiatrist said, "Oh, you have too many episodes. Basically, you'll be on for the rest of your life." But so I had a different plan, and back then I didn't have a self-care routine. I didn't have a self-love routine. So those were really made a difference, like to actually adding a support into it. So I felt then that I could get away from it, and just the mindset piece is that it's something that I wanted, and something that I wanted to prove to myself and to my dad, and that I can do it, So I really like believed in myself. I know there's people who need to be on there, but I was one of the people, even though they told me that not to get off, I just had a different plan for myself. So,
I personally love the more natural, the better. I do think that there's a time and a place for prescriptions and allopathic medicine. Absolutely. Like I absolutely had surgery to remove my uterus. I absolutely went through the chemotherapy and the radiation, but I
hmm,
also did other things.
right,
There
right.
was Reiki, there was aromatherapy, there was sound healing, there was crystals, there was aromatherapy, flower essences, blah blah
Hmm.
blah. Like there was all of that meditation, breath work, grounding. There was all of that too because you intuitively know what's right for your body and you can develop the tools to listen to your body.
Right,
And a lot of people don't advocate for themselves. They think that the doctor just knows everything and they forget
right.
that the doctor doesn't live in their body 24/7.
Exactly,
They do. And it's
exactly.
super important for you to have an open discussion with your doctor, but you live in your body. If what the
Right,
doctor is saying doesn't resonate with you, continue the conversation. But if they're not listening, go find another doctor.
right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like that really resonated with me what you said. Like it's my body, it's my health. Like you said, go to the doctor, but I'm the one that has to live my body. Like they're not with me all the time, So, of course, I'll take their suggestions, but at the end of the day, I want to, I like the more natural approach. And then, um, like I guess what, like 4 years ago, I went to a rheumatologist because I thought that I might have had autoimmune disease. And then they suggested that I start this autoimmune medication, and then it turned out I didn't have autoimmune disease. So of course I didn't take it, but it turned out I didn't have it. So it's like, I'm not gonna say don't listen to the doctor, but they're not always right, basically. So
It is a medical practice.
right, right,
They're very educated, but with the advances in medical, I mean, all the time new stuff is coming out and they can't practice and also be studying at the same time. It's just not feasible for them to be, you know, they're not going to know everything. They're just not. And
right.
it's a balancing act and you have the right and the responsibility to stand up for yourself. A lot of
Right.
people just assume that when they go to the doctor, whatever the doctor says goes. That's not
That's
correct.
not it. Right. Exactly.
No, you have it's your body, it's your life, it's your responsibility. And in a lot of ways, we haven't been set up for success when it comes to advocating for ourselves medically. We really haven't.
Right.
The medical system here in the States is a nightmare. That
Right.
it could use some overhauls. I don't have all the answers on what exactly it needs, but it needs a kick in the butt. It definitely does.
Right. Right. Like, definitely, I mean, nutrition, like do doctors, they don't even get like full training on nutrition, I don't think.
No,
So, like, yeah, so
no.
that definitely needs to be added in. So,
And the nutrition that's taught isn't accurate.
hmm
It's not accurate, but that's a tree
another
branch, and
story.
we could talk about that for hours, and I have absolutely talked about that for hours. But
Yeah.
all right, Tara. So you were telling me earlier that you have a gift for the audience.
Yes, it's called the Reactivate Your Life Journal. It's actually the same journal that I use with my challenge. It was a Reactivate Your Life journaling challenge. So the Reactivate Your Life journal is intended to help you reactivate your life with your self-care goals. It has a life wheel included in it as well. And it has like some daily self-care activities you can use. Like I've even give like my own activities that I use in there, such as 10-minute daily meditation. If you're into exercise, I included that as well. So that's basically, and then just some free writing, free form journaling pages that I gave. So if you sign up to my list, you'll be able to grab that, the Reactivate Your Life journal.
Fantastic. I will make sure that I put that in the show notes for you so that you can find the Reactivate Your Life journal from Miss Tara. I really appreciate you being here today, Tara.
Thank you for inviting me, Sonia. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody. Till next time.